Hey everyone, it's another week of Find Your Film. This one is Eric Holmes looks very, what is it, meditative. He has a literal green screen in his background on our video pod. And then, Bruce is just chilling. Bruce is Quo Percus, I eat ya. It's yeah, I eat ya. Very cool to nice play on supposedly a critically acclaimed film. Eric Holmes loved that film last week. Bruce Perky is going to discuss. Bruce Perky, very big week for you as far as Oscar shorts. How long did it take for you to watch all of that stuff?
About 3 days. I mean, it's not that long. I just watched a section a day, like a category a day, basically.
And Eric Holmes, something Eric this way comes. I am not going to tell our audio listeners how you decided to spell that on your window. On you renamed it. Yeah, we're an E show. E doesn't mean everything. E means explicit. So comes. Let's just say that you spelled it COMES.
Come to Butthead.
Right. So Eric Holmes, a lot of Ray Bradbury within the last week. What do you got for us last week? Have you been just devouring a lot of cinema or shorts or?
Yeah, pretty much a bunch of the shorts, a couple that we're gonna talk, a couple new ones that we're gonna talk about, and it definitely took a trip down memory lane with something that wicked this way comes.
Something wicked this way comes. Okay, and Eric Holmes will have a nice little teaser. Oh, Eric, we're just gonna tease it right now. Once we get to your review of that, can our listeners expect regarding something wicked this way comes?
Yeah, so this was not the hardest thing to come by, but not the easiest thing to come by. It's on video, and you have to work to find it. But much like what we did with Intensity, I think I'm going to hand out, we're going to try that video chainmail thing again. And I think we'll post this when this episode comes out, we'll post it on the Find Your Film Facebook page.
Yes.
And then just put a comment below saying something wicked comes to me, or, just put, hey, how's it going? And
okay.
Once we post it on there after, say, 24 hours, I'll just collect all the names of people who commented and just randomize it. And then I'll message you from there, and I will send it to you. And then you watch the movie. And then maybe you send it to someone else and they watch the movie. And maybe they send it, so on and so forth. So even though it's a hard movie to find, maybe one day something wicked will come to you.
Well, Eric's very kind. He loves sending out discs to everybody. I remember 4 or 5 years ago, he sent me and Anderson a disc of Bright Lights, Big City, and also The Professionals, both of which I have not. No,
Scalp Hunters.
Scalp Hunters, my fault. The Professionals was a movie I really loved. The Scalp Hunters, I tried 10 minutes in, and I realized no disrespect to the late Ozzie Davis, love him. But when I realized Ozzie Davis was actually the lead in the movie in a weird way, I don't know. I just decided, hey, this is not who's Burt Lancaster, right? He's the lead?
Burt Lancaster and Telly Savalas. Yeah.
And yeah. I was like, and it was a comedy. It was a weird tone. And I'm going to get back to it. I'm sure it's really awesome, Eric. It's been out. You sent me an old DVD copy, which is really cool. But then I believe Arrow or Kino came out with another version of it. So It's a movie that I can't wait. Yeah, they did, the Scalp Hunters. But yeah, Eric's all about sending out physical media because, listeners, DVDs and Blu-rays are still very, very important. Meaning, he was saying it's hard to find something wicked this way comes out. You need to find it on video. A lot of these movies that you think are streaming are not available for streaming or rental or whatever. Sometimes you actually might need to find the Blu-ray or disc. And that's teasing. In about several weeks, we're going to actually cover a movie that Eric Holmes and Bruce Perky purchased only on Blu-ray. So that's something that we will, and it's a Belgian film, by the way. So pretty interesting. Probably my only. Oh, Eric Holmes. Yes,
to
sir.
that point, that may be showing up any second now. So if I got to bounce for a quick second.
Okay.
Rain may be coming to the door any second now. So
Rain. Oh, okay, very cool. Rain is I think is part of the whole What's in the Box universe that Bruce Perky has. Oh, and you know what, Bruce Perky, for What's in the Box, can you just little tease before we get into the main review? What's in the box this week for you to review?
It's a 1987 movie called The Caller.
The Call. It sounds ominous. Sounds interesting. 1987. I was I was 16 then. How old were you, Eric, in
In
1987?
87, I was
Yes,
10 years old.
10 years old. And
Nine,
Bruce,
just turning 10 years old.
Bruce, did you grad? Oh, okay. So Bruce, were you graduating from high school in 87?
22.
Oh, 22. Okay. So The Caller. It sounds like a very interesting movie. We'll see if Bruce Perky gives it that proverbial recommendation for the what's in the box. That is a very evil laugh. We'll see what Bruce Perky has. But you know what? This week for our feature reviews, we're going to be a little bit scattershot. There are 3 movies. One of them I'm going to fold them into for my recommendation of the week. Okay. That's a movie called Moffie. Okay. So that's going to be my recommendation this week. For the features, we have 2 films, Held and Looking for a Lady with Fangs and a Mustache. Thank you, Bruce Porky, for actually properly putting that on the Google Doc, because I would have screwed up that name like a you know what. Now, the first movie up is a movie that we plan to cover, and it's one of these things that I have to offer a little bit of a mea culpa. I interviewed the actors of Held. I'm putting the curtains, whatever, I'm opening the curtains. I interviewed the actors from Held, the directors from Held. It's a movie I really enjoyed. I don't know if you know this, Eric Holmes. I checked my MacBook today. My interviews with these wonderful people gone. One of them, it was yeah. So now I'm gonna save everything. I'm gonna save things to the cloud, to the drive, to everything. My apologies to the people over at Held. Eric Holmes, you were thinking about something.
I was going to say, a lot of times computers automatically save to the cloud, even though you don't think they do. So I'm
Yeah.
just saying, you might want to check there. Maybe it's saved, but I mean, that I wouldn't bet on it, but it's possible they could be saved.
Yes, I'm gonna try one more time, but most likely it is lost in the ether. Now, anyways, directed by Chris Laughlin, and I believe that's Laughlin or Laughing, and Travis Clough, written by Jill Aubrey. Here's the interesting thing. Jill Aubrey, Aubrey. She is also the actress co-lead in Hell that stars Jill and Bart Johnson. They play a married couple, and their marriage is sort of going south. They kind of don't like each other. They're trying to reignite some kind of spark. So they decide to have a really nice romantic getaway, just them. They go into the nice, cozy, intimate home, and they realize that they can't escape because there is an intruder, an interloper, possibly a killer who has control of the house. He has control over them. He drugs them. It might be a she. I'm assuming it's a he. Just saying this weird person has put himself or herself into the middle of their lives. Now the married couple must figure out Emma. Their names are Emma and Henry. They must figure out who is behind all of this madness, and can they actually escape the house, the home, alive in one piece, or will they be held? And maybe will they be held in that home for quite a while until maybe both of them are victims of this supposed criminal or killer. So that is the premise of Held. I'm a huge fan of genre thrillers. And this has nothing to do with me losing the interviews. I actually requested the interviews after watching Held. It's a B movie thriller, which I thought it was really well written. I really enjoyed the performances in this movie. Interesting twist. I enjoyed it. I would give this a recommend. It comes out on this Friday, April 9th, in theaters and on demand. If you love nail-biting thrillers, sort of two-handers, and it surprised me. It's a Magnet release. So if you like anything that Magnet comes out with, you're going to probably like Hell. That's my review of it. Bruce Perky, let's start with you. You disagree?
Yeah. You have to test my brain a little bit, since I actually watched this. How many weeks ago was that? 3 weeks ago, maybe?
I think 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
I think I watched it pretty early. So
yeah.
Eric's always saying his brain is broke. My brain might be broke a little bit too, but I will do my best here. I was very middle of the road on this movie. I think for me, there's a big twist, and obviously we're not going to talk about the twist. The big twist to me seemed I didn't know exactly what the twist would be, but it seemed pretty obvious where this was headed to me. And it kind of reminded me of another movie that I like a lot better from a long, long time ago. Leave it at that. It just kind of seemed blunt. It kind of seemed everything that it did was very overly obvious to me or something. I don't know. There wasn't this level of subtlety to this movie that I felt like would have made it more interesting. I don't know. I felt the mystery wasn't intriguing enough for me. And the characters weren't that intriguing to me either. Everything seemed kind of, like I said, middle of the road. At the final third, There was some stuff that was pretty cool. It got a little grittier than I thought it might get, and I appreciated the fact that it actually went a little bit more intense than I thought it was based on the first half of the movie. So I'll give it credit for that. There was a subplot with the driver, which I thought was ludicrous and really, really bad.
I thought that was cute. I will say that I thought that was pretty funny. That was a pretty.
But
we're gonna disagree. Agree to disagree.
But so
on
for
that
me,
one, yeah.
this would be I would say not really recommend. If it was streaming for free, give it a try for the first half and see if you like it. But I wouldn't. For me, I wouldn't go out of my way for it.
Okay, so that is Bruce's vote on Held. He was not really taken with Held. I was. Eric Holmes, break the tie.
This one's kind of weird because I don't know. I didn't love this movie, but then there's other parts that I do. And I can't tell if that's the movie's fault or my fault. As just a regular thriller, it's fine. It's definitely intriguing, and it kind of got me wondering what was going on. But then Bruce says it has a twist, and then the twist kind of ruined things for me a little bit. It doesn't have the same twist as it's nothing like High Tension. But if you remember watching High Tension, it's like, wow, okay, yeah, this is really good. And then the twist comes, and it's like, wait, no, that's the twist kind of breaks the movie, sort of. On top of that, there's not only does it break the movie, but I think there's like a larger message that the movie's trying to tell. And also with that twist, I think that message kind of gets a little convoluted. Bruce said that it was pretty obvious. For me, it was a little too vague, which I guess is just goes the exact opposite of what Bruce says. I know this movie's trying to tell me something. I just couldn't figure out what it was that it was trying to tell me.
Well, and I was gonna say, I'll just butt in. I think there's a couple ways that you could guess this might go, and I guessed one of the ways, and that was maybe just a lucky guess on my part, but I could see exactly what you're saying too, though.
Yeah, and it's not even like the twist isn't even about like guessing or not guessing it. When the movie gives you information of what's really going on, then you start to think back of what already happened. And usually when you have a twist, you think back of what already happened. You're like, oh, okay, now all this stuff starts to come together. With this one, once the twist happened, I started thinking about what already happened. I'm like, wait, no, that's, and instead of enhancing the story, it almost kind of broke it. And then also again with the and you can tell me if I'm wrong, I think it was about basically violence against women or like toxic relationships. I got that out of it for sure. Once it went in with that twist, it kind of, the message kind of lost its focus for me.
Yeah, I mean, the message to me worked personally. I think the whole thing about it is I can't really, it's hard to argue back because once you do that, you reveal the theme of it and what's the twist and everything. But it worked for me. It might not work for some. In fairness, Rotten Tomatoes held currently as we speak, as of this recording, it has a 60% from
Just
10
nine
reviews.
more to go. Just 9 more to go.
Just 9 more to go. So right, very good. But yeah, 60% for Held. It's in theaters on demand. Listeners, if you check this out, tell us what you think of it. I enjoyed it. This is a solid recommend for me, especially if you love thrillers. I enjoyed it. Bruce and Eric would not recommend it. Eric likes certain parts of it, but he kind of be broke.
I think there's people that if they watch this just on a thriller basis, maybe they could get into it. But I think where this movie fails the hardest is getting across its message. I don't think it comes across very well.
Okay, so that is Held. My apologies to the directors and the actors for failing them. Speaking of failures, I failed them for not actually including the Held interviews for this podcast, which I was supposed to do like a responsible critic, but I wasn't so responsible. That won't happen again. So that is our first movie feature. Our second movie review is only taken by Eric Holmes. Looking for a Lady with Fangs and a Mustache. Great title. It's hard to remember because it's such a long title. Looking for a Lady with Fangs and a Mustache. Looking for a Lady with Fangs and a Mustache. Okay, I got it. Is this title as good? Is the movie itself as good as the title, Eric Holmes?
It is, but it's not going to be at all what you're expecting by reading the title. So I'll just read the IMDb thing. When a series of visions sends a skeptical entrepreneur to seek spiritual advice, an eccentric Buddhist monk predicts his imminent death unless he can locate an elusive lady with fangs and a mustache.
That's an interesting title. That's an interesting plot.
And just real quick, Greg, have you seen any trailers or anything for this?
No, zero.
What the name of the title and what I just read to you, the synopsis, what does that evoke from you? Like, what movie do you think this might be?
I mean, like it's like one of those sort of like like one of those reflective "It's a Wonderful Life" kind of thing. You have to like look back at your life, or you have to
Uh,
live your best life kind of thing. That's what I think.
all
How
right.
about you, Bruce?
Well,
What do you think about this? What do you think the tone is of this one?
Well, I mean, if I didn't have the description at all, I would have thought maybe it was some kind of a like a cheesy, almost a horror movie or something, or maybe maybe a folktale horror movie or something.
yeah. Well, it's I think Greg's a little closer. It's definitely not a
Yeah.
horror movie. But yeah, so the main guy finds out that he's gonna die in like 3 days, something like that, unless he can find this lady. And there's a name for it, Dayaki or Daika. It's some Buddhist creature, cryptoid or whatever. Basically, kind of like a succubus, but kind of the opposite of a succubus. It's. I mean, you can look it up. If I could actually,
she'll give you energy and give
yeah,
you,
yeah, kind
give
of.
you life.
At least that's the way I understand it. I've never come across this legendary creature before, but he has to find this woman, and the Buddhist gives him a couple ways. You can make these hand gestures, and if that is in front of you, it will reveal itself, and then you'll know. But you can only do the hand gesture twice, and you have to do it in private. And so he keeps going to these Buddhists who are continually kind of giving them advice on how to find this creature, which it's not a creature, it would just look like a normal woman. Maybe could be a man. I don't know. It's really vague on what it is he's looking for and how he's supposed to look for it. This becomes almost a love story because there's a couple women in his life that some he's attracted to, some he's like loves like a sister, some are more like friends to him, family, that sort of thing. It reminded me kind of a lot of Chungking Express. It has that kind of flavor to it.
Movie is shot by Mark Lee Ping Bing, who is the cinematographer behind In the Mood for Love.
Oh,
The
there you
Mood for
go.
Love is directed by Wong Kar-wai. Wong Kar-wai is also the director of the aforementioned Chungking Express.
Yeah. Oh, that totally makes sense. I didn't know that, but
does it work? Does this work, or does it drag, or does it
had a different title and I wasn't expecting a B horror movie? I think I would have been on board a lot quicker than I was. But about halfway through, like I started kind of understanding what it was I was watching, and then I just kind of fell in love with it from there on. I kind of got like almost soaked into I hate to say mystery because mystery implies something darker. This is not a dark movie. This is really kind of a light movie, and even though he has looming dread and doom, in his future, it's still kind of uplifting, which is a weird
Is it kind of a quest, or like a quest for like meaning in his life, that kind of thing? I'm getting the sense of something like that a little bit.
I mean, it definitely does the Karate Kid thing. Like all this time I thought it was painting, when in actuality I was learning karate. It's all this time I'm worried about my death, and all this time I'm worried about finding this person so I can so I don't die. Oh, on top of that, one of the Buddhists was like, you're gonna die by Saturday, but try to live by Sunday. It's like, why is that? And it was like, well, if you live by Sunday, only you die. If you die by Saturday, 9 of your friends are gonna die.
Oh, wow.
Okay. It's not a fair trade. Not a fair trade.
Yeah,
I thought weekends were fun. They're not. This is not so fun. This is not a fun weekend.
But yeah, it's definitely the theme is he's only has X amount of time to live, and he's spending that time panicking and freaking out when he should be enjoying the last moments of his life. And okay. That's the main theme of it. But it's real good, and just don't be expecting a B horror movie, because it is not at all that whatsoever.
Okay, so if you're not so yeah, even the poster looks sort of mysterious and interesting. So you would recommend this for if the moviegoer is in for maybe a reflective, meditative type of experience? Is that?
Look, if you dig Wong Kar-wai movies, definitely check this out, because this will be right up your alley. If you like kind of romance, kind of off the oddball kind of romance stories, this is definitely one. The ending might piss some people off, but I think Greg especially. I think this ending would just really get
Get
you
my goat.
going. Yeah.
Yeah, get my
Does that mean a good thing?
I think so.
Okay, then
I think when I'm
it
mad.
will get all your goats.
Did it get your goat, or were you satisfied with where it went at the end?
I did, because the ending ends on such a subtle note, but it's one of those things like if you're just kind of half paying attention, you'll get to the ending and be like nothing happened. If you're paying attention, it's one of those things where someone does a little movement, says a little thing, but you've been paying attention, and that little thing has all the context in the world, means everything.
Bruce Perky, did Eric Holmes just call me unsubtle and I don't pay attention to the little things? And is it true?
I wasn't listening. What was it? What was he saying?
No, but this is in all fairness, Eric, thank you for reviewing this. Looking for a lady with fangs and a mustache. You know what? It's weird. I'm glad that it's a subtle ending. It should be interesting. The virtual live premiere and panel discussion is on April 8th. By the way, it's my mom's birthday on April 8th. It's hosted by the Rubin Museum of Art. Rubin is spelled Rubin. And then I'm wondering what this is, but it's worldwide watch now at home cinema release on April 9th. I don't know what that means, but that is the tagline. I don't know what watch now is. That a streaming service? I will find that out. But the movie is called Looking for a Lady with Fangs and a Mustache. And if you like Wong Kar-wai's movies like In the Mood for Love, or like Eric Holmes says, Chungking Express, maybe you should go and check out this movie. By the way, it is executive produced by Olivia Harrison. Her late husband, obviously, is George Harrison. So that is Looking for a Lady with, what is it, Eric? Looking for a Lady with Fangs and a Mustache. Is that it?
Yep.
Okay. So that is it. And then now we are off to doing the Oscar nominated shorts. Bruce Perky, you've seen all of these. I'm going to let you spearhead this segment.
Oh, gosh.
Okay.
All right.
In 3, 2.
Just list them all. Well, I guess this is all spearheaded because I mentioned back, I don't know, a month ago or so, I had watched a movie on Slamdance, but I had got in late on Slamdance and I had watched a short and I had like a few minutes left before it was done. Like I got in there at like, I don't know, 2 hours until the end of the festival online. So I had enough time to get one more short in, and it was nominated for an Oscar. It's opera, and it's like a 9-minute short. And I thought it was really cool, but I was like, I can't show this to anybody. And then I saw it was nominated for an Oscar. And I was like, oh, cool. I'm really excited now. That's one of the ones. And then just this weekend, they made available for rental and virtual cinemas. You can do each category, animated, narrative, or live action, or you can get the whole block and get a discount for all of them, all the Oscar nominated shorts. And I thought, well, this is really cool. And then Greg said, hey, let's dive into this.
I actually said, let's bilk the system and let's get all this for free. Because we're not making money on this podcast. Let's scrimp our pennies together. That's what I said. But Bruce, Bruce has a more noble quest than I do. So
anyway, I mean, to me, it's great because one thing that you think about the Oscars and films, and they're acknowledging all these great works that you may or may not have seen, but were accessible to everybody. But really, if you're looking for the independent filmmakers, the filmmakers are just getting started at the beginning of these visions that might become really impactful in the future in features, you're going to find them in these shorts. So it's really cool to go and get a highlight to some of these short films. So I don't know how you want to do this. Maybe pick a category.
Well,
we can each talk about something.
You know what, though? Before we start, you mentioned opera. So let's not bury the lead. You were really intrigued by it.
Or maybe we should bury the lead.
Oh, what is that, Eric Holmes? My goodness. Opera. Yeah, Bruce, let's start. Your appetite was whetted? You were interested in opera. Did opera live up to its expectations when you saw it?
Yeah, well, this was a rewatch because I watched it.
Oh, yeah, right.
In Slamdance. I did actually watch it, and I watched it again. And I guess how to describe this short, it's animated. It's in the animated category. And it's like this very ultra detailed, I don't know if you want to call it like a temple or a mosaic. And it's all these little figures doing different activities. And it's kind of like, I kind of describe it as like a clockwork miniaturized animated version of society in the world as writ large in like 8 minutes. It almost requires you to try to focus on a section of it, and you can't focus on all of it at once. So it's almost one of those things that makes you want to watch it again to focus on different things, because you might look in one corner and there's little tiny figures worshiping something. In another corner, little figures are burying a body, and then the body's going down a tube that's going down into the bottom and becoming food for something. It's a really bizarre and interesting, intricate work, and it's kind of haunting, and it's kind of creepy, and it's kind of abstract.
Really
I think it's fascinating and really cool.
fascinating, really cool. Eric Holmes, opera. I felt like I was watching a big video game. I don't mean that in a pejorative. I actually like watching the details behind opera. I was saying, what the heck is this movie? But it's one of these things where you can watch it quite often and pick the corner of the short you want to see and just let your eyes train there. It is very intricate. I will say that about opera. Eric Holmes, your thoughts?
Yeah, this short redefines a oneer, I think. Because it's all one shot. You know, it starts at the top of the pyramid, works its way down, comes back out. It basically gives you, if you Google opera animated short, you'll have the entire movie right there. You know, it's a freeze frame, but it shows you pretty much everything that happens, and it's so detailed but so focused at the same time, which sounds like a contradiction, and I guess it kind of is. This thing was pretty freaking mind-blowing. That's not hyperbole at all, I don't think. Like Bruce said, there's a well, okay, so when I was in 6th grade, we used to make these little we get a little piece of paper and just kind of make doodles, and we do like a war scene of a bunch of stick figures, and we got the stick figures over here and stick figures over here, and you know, we're gonna draw a plane up here, and inside the plane you see another stick figure, and one stick figure is jumping down with the parachute, another one opens and like pots and pans come, and down here we got these stick figures, and the stick figures digging the trench, and then you know, so depending on what area of the picture you see, there's like a little different story. So I mean, that's the thing that's happened in like you know, comic books and stuff like that, but I've never seen it animated or presented this way as a short before. On top of that, it kind of like distills like society down to its basic elements, and then when it gets to the bottom and it does that whole thing at the bottom.
Yeah. Yep.
I actually the okay, so the one thing that wouldn't be a spoiler by looking at the picture on Google would be what happens at the bottom, so I'll just leave that just gone. But I don't think it's hyperbole to call this thing a masterpiece, and it redefines what it means to be a oneer. Like, you get the oneer shot with the camera following, you know, we've seen that a million times and it's been impressive, less so sometimes, very much so in others. I've never seen a oneer where it's just you know, basically a camera locked in, zooming out, but everything, all the information is there right at the beginning.
Okay, masterpiece.
And depending on where you're seeing that, this thing was that's why I said we should bury the lead, because this is by far the best the best of all the shorts, I think.
Oh, by far. Bruce, you concur? Is it by far? What do you think?
This is the only short that I've seen from this that might make my top list for the year so far. So,
oh my goodness, that is both Bruce and Eric high marks for opera. I liked it as well, but masterpiece, those are very strong words, both of them. I think, Bruce, you would call this a masterpiece as well if you're saying that.
I would, yeah, yes.
Okay. Also, in the animation, there's another short called "If Anything Happens, I Love You." Bruce, you really enjoyed this as well. What did you love about "If Anything Happens"? "If Anything Happens, I Love You," directed by William Govier and Will McCormick. Laura Dern is an executive producer.
This style is very different, because I think the animation is pretty. It's relatively accessible. It's you know, almost like a sketch, black and white drawings that are going between this husband and wife. And what's interesting is they have behind them through the whole time, they'll have various shadows, and shadows will kind of be representing their emotional states. And pretty quickly you discover that they're going through some sort of grief or some sort of tragedy. Something's happened that's caused an upheaval in their relationship. And I can't really spoil exactly what happens, but this is one of those that could easily veer into schmaltz and into overly sentimentality, and it doesn't. And I think it goes about a halfway point that one of the characters walks into a room and a cat starts a record player. I think it was
I believe it's a record player. Yeah.
Yeah. And from that point on, I mean, if it doesn't start, you know, getting at your heartstrings a little bit, I think you might be having some problems, because it's pretty good. It's pretty emotionally devastating. It's really, really good.
Eric, did you see? Were you able to see this? If anything
Yeah.
happens, I love you.
And
Yeah.
actually, this one's on Netflix. You can watch this
Okay.
one on Netflix right now. I like how they, you talk in movies about like, I love how they play with shadows. Well, this one, they literally play with shadows.
Yeah.
The shadows of the two characters tell the whole story pretty much. And then the reveal of the tragedy, and then the reveal even later on of how the tragedy occurred just floored me. And
Yeah.
and they do so much. I loved it because, well, loved it, that sounds weird. But I guess I'll say I was impressed with the way they did it, because they, just again, looking for a lady with fangs and a mustache. The end of that, same deal with this. That reveal is just one shot and a sound, and you know exactly what. That's all you need. You know exactly what's happening. Yeah, this one was really good, and I don't want to say much more because it's you can turn on Netflix right now or after you're done listening to this if you care to, and it's all right there, and you make up your mind yourself. Yeah, this one gets high marks.
High marks for If Anything Happens, I Love You. It's 13 minutes. It, again, like both of them, like both Bruce and Eric says, it does. It's a very devastating short, but it is worth watching just for the artistry of it, the way they tell the story, and the subtlety involved. So we're done with the animation section. Let's go to documentary. Colette, Bruce Perky, you saw Colette. I just crammed in Colette before. Eric, you said you haven't seen Colette yet. It'll be worth your time. Bruce, what did you love about Colette?
So Colette is one of those that's like, first of all, it's directed by Anthony Glacino. It follows Colette, Marin Catherine. She's like, what? How old is she in this? You watched it too. Was it 80?
She's 90.
Maybe?
She's
80?
90. She's 90. Yeah.
Yeah. Colette and a young woman, Lucy, and they're in France. And Lucy is like a historian. She works for the local, the museum. A lot of it deals with the French resistance. And Colette's brother, back during World War II, when the French resistance was going on, he was taken away and killed in a concentration camp. And ever since that day, Colette has never gone to Germany. She's never gone to the camp. She couldn't see any way to do that and why it would be useful to her. And kind of through her friendship with this historian, she decides to go back there. And this story is essentially following the two of them, which I think is really interesting. This seems like pretty stereotypical kind of Oscar short documentary kind of territory. But to me, there's a few things that made it really unique. One of them was some of the things Colette says about her family. She says a specific thing that her mother said to her is
devastating,
crushing.
Yeah.
And there's some things that happen when she gets to Germany, which I thought was really interesting. There's a meeting with some members of the town that's really impactful. And then, of course, once she gets to the camp, there's a whole sequence there that's pretty amazing. I just thought it was this kind of combination of this younger and older woman going and experiencing this together made it kind of a really unique experience and really affecting, but also just insightful about those people as well.
And Lucy, she says something towards the end about remembering the past, which really ties everything together. It's not a spoiler. This is a 24-minute, in my opinion, must see. Colette is such an interesting person. She is vibrant. She's 90 years old. She'll speak her mind. She does not suffer fools. And I love those because, she does. She'll say whatever's on her mind. And I like her as a person. And I loved how Lucy and her, they really matched well within, obviously, this very tragic remembrance of things. So,
well, and a perfect example, like that's the thing, this unpredictability of Colette that I think is one of the keys of this. And this isn't spoiling anything. Early on, I think as Lucy or somebody had asked her, you must have been really close with your brother. And she's like, oh, no, not really.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? This whole thing's about going back to visit where he died and he was taken away by the Nazis. And she's like, we weren't really that close. But that doesn't mean she still isn't impacted by it. And it's that kind of honesty and unpredictability and just real human uniqueness, which I think is kind of what sets this apart.
Yes. And think something about Colette, you're like Bruce was saying, you might think it's an obvious play for emotions because of the premise. But here's something you have to remember about Colette. What we're talking about, she is not one for sentimentality. So you get this road, the rubber meets the road moment, where you have someone who does not want that sentimental part. She's just there to be there, just to, I suppose, respect the wishes of Lucy, and she is fighting this against her will. So what happens when the rubber meets the road? And also, of course, the historical aspect of this concentration camp it is value added for that historical purpose as well. So I actually crammed Colette before we started recording this. Eric Holmes, definitely, you watch a ton of stuff. I think Bruce and I, we recommend this for Eric and everyone else.
Yes.
Go see Colette. Yeah, yes, like you said, Bruce, directed and written by Anthony Giacchino. Must see, really powerful film. Okay, so I did not see Do Not Split. I don't know if you saw that, Eric, but that's also on your list, Bruce. What is it about?
Do Not Split. I don't have to go into a lot of detail. Colette was definitely my favorite of all of them, although there's a lot of solid ones. Pretty much everything in this whole short thing is good. But Do Not Split is kind of on the ground, 2019. The really huge uprising and riots and stand-ins and clashes with the Chinese, run police in Hong Kong, and a lot of students. It has a lot of parallels to some of the stuff going on in America, of course. But of course, in China, in Hong Kong, because China's trying to crack it down, it gets a little more intense. And the access they have is really good because they're right there on the ground with these people with, the Molotov cocktails and the police coming in. And it's got some really interesting and intense footage and will give you insight into something you may not have known. It's really good. And it was funny. I was listening to a couple things about Kong, Godzilla versus Kong. And there's kind of a little conspiracy theory that the finale takes place in Hong Kong because China had a big part in backing and getting the initial release of that big budget movie, and that they wanted to make sure that Hong Kong got destroyed. So if you want to get down conspiracy theories, it would not be totally unlikely that might have happened. So anyway, but this is a really good short.
Speaking of shorts, Eric, anything within the documentary that caught your eye that you saw that you enjoyed, you would recommend?
I saw two of them and they weren't bad. What was the Concerto in Conversation? What was that one called?
A concerto is a conversation.
Yeah, it was fine. And the letter, I forget the name of the other one too.
A Love Song for Latasha.
Yeah. That one was kind of sad, but I didn't really get a whole lot out of those like I did with Opera or Whatever Happens Next, I Love You, or even a lot of the live action ones, which we'll get to. I just watched those two documentaries and they were good. They just didn't resonate with me like a lot of the ones I saw before. I want to give one huge fuck you to Opera because that was the first one I seen. So pretty much everything else just paled in comparison to that.
It was kind of my fault. I kind of piped it pretty high. So yeah.
Well, you weren't wrong.
On a personal level, before we get to your final pick for the documentary, Bruce, I'm gonna rebut on that. My personal favorite actually it's not among the documentaries. I definitely do recommend A Concerto is a Conversation.
It's a real pleasure to welcome Chris Bowers, our composer.
I'm very aware of the fact that I'm a Black composer. I've been wondering whether or not I'm supposed to have gotten to the point that I've gotten to.
Well, never think that you're not supposed to be there, because you wouldn't be there if you wasn't supposed to be there. Goes back to slavery.
The reason why I love this film so much, it feels like I'm watching my own family, and I was blown away by it.
Growing up in the South, I knew when I got of age I was going to leave there. Los Angeles, California. That's where I want to go.
There's an intimacy to this exchange within the sphere of Black masculinity that is so rare to see. I think it's a balm for these times.
People are constantly throwing up things to stop you in life. But you've got to know you cannot stop me.
And the winner is Chris Bowers.
Green Book.
Can you tell me just what is concerto? You did it.
He surprised you a little bit.
Executive produced by Ava DuVernay, directed by Chris Bowers and Ben Proudfoot, written by Ben Proudfoot, stars Horace Brown Sr., Chris Bowers, and it also credits Julia Roberts in the short, and she's in it for just 1 second. Bruce, you saw the short as well. You saw everything, right? So the reason the reason why I love A Concerto is a Conversation, Bruce, you always mention about Seattle, certain sections of remembrances or film locations. This short film is shot specifically in Walt Disney Concert Hall, a venue in downtown LA, which I have a very personally close connection to, because when I lived in downtown Los Angeles, this would be my place to hang out. My apartment was right across the street, and I would go and see concerts in the Disney Concert Hall. So this one is more of a biased love for the short of downtown LA and Los Angeles. And I love the way that they interplayed the idea about the concerto, which is the concerto is the composer or the musician having a conversation with the orchestra. And this is where the concerto is a conversation. You have the conversation between the jazz pianist Chris Bowers. He's also an acclaimed sound composer of movies as well. He composed a score to Green Book. So he's a film composer, jazz pianist, Chris Bowers, and he asked his grandfather to just talk about his life, Horace Bowers Sr. And the way they discuss their conversation is interestingly shot because you don't have them sitting at a table and they're having a conversation like that. It's more of a cut to close up, cut to close up, cut to close up. It might work for some, totally worked for me. Eric Holmes, what?
I completely forgot about that until you mentioned that. Yeah, I remember watching that. Go, well, Greg's gonna love this because he loves close-ups.
I love close-ups. Close-ups is the most. For me that's a money shot. Close-ups. I love close-ups. I love push-ins. So I really loved it. And you get to really understand where Horace Bowers Sr. came from, growing up in Jim Crow, Florida, what he had to endure, eventually moving to Detroit, eventually coming to LA, and then now he's just creating that dry cleaner place over in South Central. This is a really great LA Los Angeles piece, short, but I think if you can extrapolate it, you get to really see several generations of Americans as they try to make it.
I wanted to see the feature of his life is what I wanted to see of
Yeah,
the older guy's life,
Yeah, I was interested in both their lives. I think this was, and also it's interesting. Chris Bowers, he co-directed it. He's a talented musician. It'll be interesting to see. Who knows, Bruce?
Yeah.
Maybe he might do something on his grandfather's life. His grandfather's very, very interesting. And in fairness, it's really his grandfather's, even though it says a concerto is a conversation, the conversation is really spearheaded by his grandfather, Horace Bowers Sr., who's very fascinating, and obviously struggles he went through in Florida, just during his time was interesting. And then to see even his grandson, Chris Bowers, admitting as an African-American, being a musician was very tough because he was it was pretty much a lonely place for him for a while. So I think both stories could be extrapolated as well into some kind of movie. Yeah. I mean, interestingly enough, that movie, The Soloist, starring Jamie Foxx and Robert Downey Jr., that was a Walt Disney Concert Hall kind of film. This one, to me, in fairness to that movie, this was more interesting. A concerto is a conversation. This is a nice complaint. I wish we had more. I want more story behind Horace Bowers Sr. and Chris Bowers. Really, really loved A Concerto is a Conversation. So that's it. That is my thing. And Hunger Ward.
Well, first of all, Hunger Ward is going to be really, really rough for a lot of people. So go in with a big, giant red warning on it before you venture forth, because it's about Yemen. If you know anything about what's been going on in Yemen, it's being basically starved out as a country. It's being bombed. Saudi Arabia has had a siege on it for years, and it's got I think per capita, it's got one of the highest child starvation rates in the world. And what it is, it basically focuses on a couple doctors in pediatric malnutrition wards in Yemen. So it's very rough, but it's very good and frustrating and angering and saddening. And, if you can't handle, no one can handle it, but if you really, really can't handle seeing death of children, this is not anywhere you want to go near. But if you can stomach it and get in there and watch it, it's pretty affecting. And part of it is just the way the documentarian, I wrote it down,
Sky Fitzgerald.
The way that some of the scenes are shot are very brave. Some people might even be angered by it because she's right there. And you kind of wonder when you're watching it, does the family have permission? I mean, what happened? What's that conversation look like when you're filming someone's child die? And then she does some very interesting things where something like that will occur. And then she stays in the room for a bit, but then she leaves the room while the anguish is still occurring and starts walking across the hall or walking down the hall. It's really haunting and really sad. And it's really, I guess, angering because know that this doesn't have to occur. And you'll see you'll follow other people, children come in and of course, hope the best for them. You'll see a child come in that looks like she's about, I don't know, 4 or 5, and they'll say she's 10, and you're like, holy crap. So yeah, it's, if you can bear it, it's a good watch, but you have to be ready for that. Fair enough if you're not.
Are you ready for that? Hunger Ward? Right after we stop recording, are you gonna watch it? What do you think?
You know, maybe just so long as I watch Burrow afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah, you need something like that, really light.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, to be honest. Hunger Ward obviously is critically acclaimed, but I don't after what you just said, you just warned me not to see this. I don't think I have this fortitude to watch Eric Holmes.
These are Oscar shorts, so technically they're all critically acclaimed.
Yeah, you're right. That's true. That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Correction.
Yeah. I thought they meant Oscar the person, not the award. So I'm corrected by Eric Holmes. These are Oscar shorts. Yeah, these are Oscar shorts, folks. So that's Hunger Ward. It's part of that shorts TV package. I see it here on IMDb Plus. It says if you have Paramount Plus, it's also available there, possibly. So that's Hunger Ward. Bruce Perky, live action. Eric Holmes, did you see White Eye?
White Eye?
No, you did not see White Eye.
I don't know. Which one was that?
White Eye is the one. Here's the thing. Okay, a man finds his stolen bicycle, which
yes, I
belongs
did.
to a stranger. Right. While attempting to retrieve it, he struggles to remain human. That is a plot summary. It's written and directed by Tomer Shushan, and it is, I think, shot in Tel Aviv. I think it's shot in Tel Aviv, and it is. Eric Holmes was talking about oneers. I'm not as technically proficient as Eric or Bruce when it comes to all the technical sides of filmmaking, but this felt almost like a oneer on a very on a very superficial level. You can just see this for that. So you don't even the plot summary, you don't even worry what I just said about a stolen bicycle and the man and everything. Just go watch it because it's a oneer. But the world building in this movie within I don't know how many minutes this is. 20 minutes.
Yeah.
20 minutes, it's a short, but like Bruce, obviously he loves shorts so much. And I think probably I'm going to put words in your mouth, Bruce. Within the great things, sometimes what a great short can do potentially is within minutes, they can literally build an entire universe and world and just floor you in such a short time. Okay. Literally.
Yes.
So,
I was gonna say what's really cool is what it does, because it takes such a simple concept, like this guy finds his stolen bike locked up outside of a building, and he's like, this is my bike, let's cut off the lock, give me my bike back. Pretty basic concept. And it just takes that idea and says, you never know the butterfly effect, you never know the ripple effect that one act, and especially one, standing your ground and sticking your foot and saying, I'm not budging, you never know what that actually can change and affect around you. And it's really interesting how it does that.
That's so interesting that you mentioned that. The main character is Omer, Omer, played by Daniel Gad. At the beginning of the movie, you're thinking, Omer, look, someone stole his bike. It's locked. And then there's policemen. They say he cannot actually break the lock and get his bike, even though the bike is supposedly his because of the ID and everything. The fact that he hasn't filed a report yet makes you think that this movie White Eye is all about bureaucracy, just how ridiculous things are. But then, without giving too much away, everything is flipped on its head. And I think this is a very layered drama when you really start unpacking things. Eric, what did you love about White Eye?
Well, first of all, you said Daniel Gad.
Yeah.
Any relation to
Josh Gad? No, I don't think so.
Okay,
I don't think so. No.
This, well, first of all, especially with the live action shorts, there's a huge theme, huge anti-authoritarian theme, we'll say, basically against cops. And so this was one of the last ones I seen. So I'm noticing that the cops in this, and then what they do and what they don't do. And then I started thinking, do cops ever help people when, like, can they just help someone and then that's it? Like, you have a problem, I will help you, and then move on. Or do they have to have okay, I will help you so long as I can imprison someone or hurt someone in the process. And if I happen to help you, great. If not, then that's not what I'm here for. Well, because, and not to give anything away, but the cops never help him out with his bike. They've never cared about his bike. They'd never given a shit. They only come there to hurt the only time the cops show up is to hurt someone. And I guess I'll leave that rant there. But yeah, this was a really good one. And as far as a oneer, back to opera again, this is an example of a great oneer.
Mm-hmm.
And then so when I say that opera like redefines what a oneer can be, I'm comparing it to something almost exactly like this short, because the short was on a technical level, the way they shot it was fantastic. Yeah, I loved it. And it really and of course the cop stuff got my blood going too. But and the story's great, because you think you know what's going on, and then you hear a little more information and you find out, oh, okay, no, that makes sense. And then you hear a little more info. Oh, okay, wait, no, okay, yeah, that not that they're big twists, but it's just you just get a little more information, and you're understanding a person that you had preconceived notions about, and that's great about this as well.
Bruce, before we get to you, by the way, great ending. Just gonna leave it at that. Great.
I was gonna say that.
Oh, okay.
This is probably the best final shot of all these shorts, I think.
Yes.
It is perfection. And I wanted to mention one other thing, talking about world building and all that. So essentially you think about like Rear Window, when there's that shot where you just see all the apartments and you find out all the things that are going on in the apartments. And we've seen oneers, and a lot of action roles will have like a oneer sequence. This is basically the idea of like a building. You have a building which is kind of a block of its own, and you just go in and around that building, and look from that building at the scenery around it, and that's all you do in this. You see the streets and that building. Yeah. And I want to mention a couple things that talk about really great filmmaking without spoiling anything. There's one sequence where he goes through the building early on, and he's looking indoors for something.
Yeah.
And there's a sequence later on that parallels that, when he goes back through the building and he looks through a door and he sees things, and it has an entirely different context.
My goodness.
And it's so good. And this wasn't, I would say of all the categories, this category I think was the most universally close. Like, it might not have had my favorite of all the shorts, but all these shorts, a lot of these shorts were like pretty good. So, and pretty much in line. So, and like Eric says, once again, before we'll talk a little more, but I think what he's kind of getting at too is that the idea that police officers, there's this pull between law and order and rules and following rules, and then a point where you can also just be a human. And in a lot of these, there's points where you could be a human and maybe not follow the rule of the letter of the law, but be doing the right thing. And that's a big conflict in a lot of these.
I would say it's not so much about following the rule of law, but the cops are there. My bike is stolen. I want it back. Well, here's your bike. Can you prove it's yours? Yes, I can. Here's pictures of me with the bike. Well, it's like, that's not enough. I have more at home. Let's just get my bike and go there, and I will show it to you. And the cops should say, well, yes, let's follow this through to their natural conclusion and figure out whether this is his bike or not. They don't want to do that. They want to arrest someone. They want to put someone in jail. They want to beat someone up. They want to deport someone. They want to hurt someone. They're not concerned about what they're there for. They are there to help him find his bike and get his bike back. And they want to do everything but that, just so they can hurt someone.
Right. And I think we're saying the same thing, basically, because what I'm saying is that they probably have some little tiny bylaw that tells them, like, you're not allowed to release possible stolen property without a proof of purchase or something stupid like that, right? Whereas as just being a human being, they can see, like, obviously this is this guy's bike. Let's just go and make sure and we'll be good. But that means they have to be flexible and reasonable and like human. So,
but why would they? We can't just have you get your bike back. We gotta crush some skulls. We gotta throw someone in jail. Otherwise, what the fuck are we doing here? But there's more of that to come.
Speaking of more to come, White Eye, again, directed and written by Tomer Shushan. If I was a producer, or if I had some kind of distribution deal with oodles of cash, whatever, I would give Tomer Shushan a call and say, hey, years ago, there was this Joe Carnahan film called Narc, starring Jason Patrick and Ray Liotta. We'll give you X amount of dollars to shoot this gritty crime thriller with a social message and really good thematic. Here, do it for us, because this guy is very talented. I can't wait to see what he does next. I hope he does a feature very, 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 very soon. So that is White Eye. Strong recommend from all of us, right? Okay, strong recommend. So The Present, I have not seen The Present. You guys have seen The Present. Eric Holmes, Eric, you saw The Present.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I'm clueless on The Present. What is tell us about The Present, Eric? Did it stick with you? Bruce.
This one, of all of them, I think this one was the weakest for me. And keep in mind, when I say the weakest, even when I was talking about the documentary, I'm talking about like, oh, this isn't a 10, this is just a 9.5. So let's define terms here. But this one I think is strongest at the end. And again, it has another problems with authority thing. A guy gets this movie kind of just hinges towards the end, like all the setups, whatever, but it's the end. They got this gift or present. It's just a large refrigerator, and they have to go through this walkway, but the refrigerator doesn't fit through the walkway. Well, there's a street right there, and we're only talking about 20 feet. Let me just bring the refrigerator out there. They're like, no, you can't do that.
Hello.
And they escalate the situation until they're bringing out guns over a fucking refrigerator. And I mean, I don't know that I should say much more than that, but I mean, there's not much to the story. It's pretty cut and dry. It's very effective. But for me, the only reason I say this is the weakest one is because I think it's not until the very end where it really kind of gets to the point and hits the hardest.
Well, you know what? I'm looking at the plot line. It's on Netflix as well. I'm a little bit disappointed in myself that I missed this. It's an interesting premise. Bruce, your take on this? Does it deliver on what this premise?
Yes, I think it does. And I think honestly, we were talking about Wide Eye and The Present would be it's a really good double feature of shorts because similar issues and themes, but The Present is Palestine and it's Palestinians having to go across the checkpoints. Like every day they have to go across a checkpoint, and that's kind of the crux of the tension. The Present, I was going to say, it's a good like pairing, a short pairing if you want to do with Wide Eye, because Wide Eye, like you talked about Israel and the whole idea with police and kind of justice and a lot of stuff going on there. The Present is Palestine, but it's talking about, going across those checkpoints to go to work or to go shop or to go all kinds of things. You have to go through the checkpoints. And that's kind of what Eric was getting at. I liked it a little bit better than Eric did, but once again, we're nitpicking like, A to A minus, whether it's an A or A minus for you. I thought the early parts, which was a lot about him with his daughter going to go shopping. And I thought that the setup going through the checkpoint, going into shop was really key because here's this guy, he just wants them to treat him like a normal human being going shopping. And he's there with his daughter. And that's really escalating it in his mind because he's like, you're doing this in front of my daughter to me. I don't care if you do this to me, you humiliate me and you make me go through all these hoops, but now my daughter has to watch this and be part of this. I think it's really good. I think Wide Eye and the other one I was going to talk about is a little bit better, but once again, it's a really good watch.
Okay, so that is The Present, and finally, our last short that we're highlighting from Bruce's picks is Two Distant Strangers, and here is a plot line. In Two Distant Strangers, cartoonist Carter James's repeated attempts to get home to his dog are thwarted by a recurring deadly encounter that forces him to relive the same awful day over and over again.
I met this girl last night, ended up at her place, and keep being a good boy for Papa, okay? I'll be home soon, I promise. Too late to cry.
Oh, come on. You got a problem here.
Get off of me, man! Get off of me! Oh, God! This whole moment just feels like deja vu or something.
Whoa, careful, man. It's a new shirt. All right,
Hey! 100 times?
So far, yeah.
What now? You just let him keep killing you forever?
I don't know. One way or another, I'm getting home to my dog.
Eric Holmes, I heard what you got.
Yeah, this is more Cops Are Bad, and it's not wrong. It starts off as a guy wakes up and him and the woman he had slept with the night before. They're clearly a new couple or a budding couple, and they kind of have it's got a Malcolm and Marie kind of vibe to it, minus the we hate each other bits.
Yeah, right. Minus those bits, yeah.
Yeah, but they're kind of just a new couple, having a good conversation, everything. It kind of has a tone of sort of a romantic comedy sort of thing, and it's like, well, I'm gonna leave, and he goes outside, accidentally bumps into a guy, drops a roll of cash, lights up a cigarette, and then a cop shows up. It's like, what's going on here? Just right in there. I'm only here to escalate the situation, not to protect and serve, which is what I'm supposed to do. I'm here to end your life. He doesn't say that, but in his mind, that's what he's thinking. And I'm not wrong because of twists that I can't get into.
Right.
But
yeah.
Basically the cop ends up crushing him to death. He can't breathe, and then he dies and wakes up, and now we're in another Groundhog movie, which we've seen about 1 million of them this year. Yeah. Oddly enough, they've all been good. So
yeah.
I guess keep making them.
Yeah, this one's good. This one's very good. This one's very.
And then he keeps doing the same thing, and that same cop just keeps killing him no matter what. I don't want to give away the end, but I do want to mention the end credits because I think it's very important. And the theme of this is obviously the people that were murdered. Not killed, not accidentally dispatched, but we'll just say murdered by police brutality. And then they list the names, and then next to the name, they say what they were doing as the police murdered them. Walking home, so-and-so was asleep, so-and-so was cooking dinner, so-and-so was going to the movies. All these things that deserve a death sentence. Clearly, if you're walking home, why wouldn't I kill you? Because that's what you deserve, right? Not at all. But I mean, and I think with the what I love about this one is that the Groundhog Day effect is almost it's almost like it's not the same person. Like thematically, he's not the same person waking up and reliving it. He's a different person just going about his normal day and dies for no reason. And then the next day he's thematically someone else doing something else. On top of that, no matter what he does, and it speaks to the argument of, well, if so-and-so just didn't do this or that, or if so-and-so just did this, then if so-and-so would have listened, if so-and-so wouldn't have done this, then they would have been fine. And clearly the answer this movie is giving is, it didn't matter what the fuck I did. This fucker was going to kill me anyway. And that's the short in a nutshell. And I think this theme drove it as hard as you possibly could. And I think a lot of people need to see this. And I know a couple of people personally that I wish would shut the fuck up a lot of the times that should probably see this. But this one's very, very good. I love this one.
I love this one as well. My only complaint is I wish they gave a little bit more of a sympathetic ear to the cop. Bruce, I was kidding. I was joking. I was joking, Eric. I was joking.
Son of a bitch.
Okay, but by the way, the cop is played by Andrew Howard, and he is very good as the cop.
Yep.
The cop is not very good. Cop is pretty evil. That's not a spoiler. Okay, but Carter, we have to say Carter is Joey Badass.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen Mr. Robot. He's a hip hop artist. People know him in the music industry. I'm an old man. I'm an old school hip hop guy. So I only started listening to Joey Badass's music on Spotify after watching this. He really convinced me as an actor as well. Really loved his portrayal as Carter in this. Bruce, take it away.
Yeah, I agree with everything that both you said. What I thought was really interesting about this, it wears its heart on its sleeve. You know what this is about from the very first time he gets choked out. It's like, okay, we're right in this territory that's literally 24/7 on the news right now with the trial of the officer that murdered George Floyd. But what I thought was really interesting about this, so you'd have the thing that Eric talked about, which is like that kind of inevitability, like no matter what action he takes, the same thing's going to happen to him. But also what's something strange about this, I don't know if you guys have got this, because the whole Groundhog Day format, I guess we can call it now, or subgenre, I guess is what it is now, is automatically somewhat humorous. And that's what gives this a really interesting clash of tones, because it's sort of light in a strange way. It's sort of lighthearted, almost on purpose to pull the rug out from under you again and again and again. It almost will like keep trying to like, like, oh, well, this, it's like, okay, we'll just talk to the guy. His friends say, like, how many times has it been? 100 or 99 or 50 or whatever it is. It's like it wants to keep giving you hope and keep showing you this how this guy's a normal guy, and then it happens to him, and it happens to him again, it happens to him again. I thought this was really, really good, and a lot deeper than some might take it. Some might say, oh, so obvious, we get it. I think this got a lot of really cool deep stuff going on in it. And Eric's shaking his head because a lot of people don't get it, obviously, but
if they got it, cops wouldn't be murdering people. But go on.
Yeah, and I love this one, and as much as I love the other ones, this is one of the people, if I can, I'm going to get an interview with the directors of this one, because this is cool.
I also want to point out the detail in this one. Not quite as detailed as opera, because we keep bringing up opera, but like you have the overhead shot where you see like the names of all the victims on the top of the, like the George Floyd one's real prominent, but there's other like, smaller nods to that. At one point where the main character dies, not a spoiler, he dies like 100 times in this, literally. But at one point he like dies and lays down, and his blood puddle goes to the shape of Africa.
Yeah, and that was awesome.
And I mean, they have stuff like that, which is kind of obvious, but still kind of cool. And then they have other like, you look in the background and you just notice like little tiny details and stuff. And for I don't know if this was the director trolling, but Bruce Hornsby is very prominent in this movie.
Yeah, no, good. We totally missed that. Good job.
I'm wondering if he's inviting the people that really need to see this into the short.
Yes, I think you're right, because that idea, like Bruce Hornsby is just like this like white bread sentimentality, and like I get it, I'm with it, man.
and it starts off as a romance. Like it doesn't start off as a police brutality thing at all. It's completely Happily. We talk about Happily. Happily starts off as one movie and ends as completely. This one does the same thing. It brings you in. It's like, hey, hey, Black people can fall in love too. You want to come in? Hey, you like Bruce Hornsby? Come on, let's listen to Bruce Hornsby. Blah, blah, blah. You're not racist. And then the cop kills it, and it's like, oh no, I guess I gotta look this shit in the face, because this is not good at all. I can't talk myself out of this one.
One last quick comment. Would this be one of the best slow claps in a long time?
I didn't think of it, but
right. Yep. Very good slow clap. Very good slow clap. Yes, that is a part that we're not going to mention. There is a very interesting slow clap in Two Distant Strangers. Also, props goes to. That said, very good pull, Eric Holmes, on the way it is from Bruce Hornsby. Let's not forget Bruce Hornsby and the range. We can't forget and the range. But I'm assuming props to Bruce Hornsby for probably giving the song for pretty much a song, right? Hopefully he gave either for free or for a very cut rate discount for Two Distant Strangers, because obviously we all know shorts, they don't have an elaborate budget. It's a very well-placed song, and it really adds to the overall fabric of the short. High recommendation from all three of us guys for Two Distant Strangers. Yes. Yeah. I mean, my goodness. Also, it has so many tones at the end of this. I have to say, I am warning you, it'll make you frustrated. It's an enlivening, inspiring on a filmmaking level, storytelling level watch, but it is it'll get your blood boiling.
I don't even know if we should go over it or if it's just completely obvious, but do you want to do since these are the Oscar nominated shorts, do you want to go with the who's gonna win, who should win sort of things on these? Or
I'm horrible at that. You guys can do that. Yeah. Bruce, you want to say what's gonna win? I'm assuming it's gonna be Hunger Ward, right?
It could be Colette. I mean, that's kind of a favorite too. I could see Colette, but yeah, it might be Hunger Ward.
And then I think for animation, even though it's a masterpiece, from opera is a masterpiece, I think If Anything Happens, I Love You, I think that's going to get it.
That's a little more universal.
Yeah. I was thinking that would be the If Anything Happens, I Love You is going to win. Opera is the one that should win, but they're both fantastic. And then with the live action, it would be the one we were just talking about, or the we didn't talk about it, but the Oscar Isaac one.
Yeah. That could. I bet you Two Distant Strangers wins. I can't see. It's really good, and it just is so of the time. I can't imagine it doesn't win.
Yeah. The problem with the the good thing about the live action ones is I think of the three, the live action ones are the closest ones. Like Bruce said earlier, that doesn't have the best one, but all of them are really solid.
Yep.
All of them are really solid. Okay, so that is our Oscar shorts, man. That is a lot of good stuff. And now we're going to our recommendations. Let's start with Eric Holmes. Something Wicked This Way Comes. It's a movie I still haven't seen. I forgot what year it was released. I remember Siskel and Ebert reviewed it, and I said, this movie looks scary. I don't think I want to read the Ray Bradbury book or watch the movie. Was I wrong, Eric? Have I missed a really great film?
Yes, it is very good. I got so into the shorts. I'm like, oh yeah, we got to talk about the regular movies. So this one came out in 1983, directed by Jack Clayton. And let's see, written by Ray Bradbury, both the novel and the screenplay. It's got Jason Robards and Jonathan Pryce, who plays Mr. Doc. So basically there's a carnival that comes into town, and everyone's excited about, it's not a Stephen King movie, but it's got that kind of Stephen King flavor to it, small town Stephen King type, place, but Ray Bradbury. You get the idea. Anyway, the circus comes into town, and everyone's all excited because, this is back in the olden days where everyone is excited by circuses, I guess. These two kids, they go and they find the carousel's covered up, and they go inside and they're looking, oh, wow, it's a carousel. And they're it's not working. That's why it's covered up. But then Mr. Dark comes in. It's like, you kids should not be here. And Jonathan Pryce is just fucking creepy as shit. I'm hoping I get his name right. I'm pretty sure that's who it is, but definitely not Jason Robards. But he's like, you kids need to get out of here, but maybe come back later on tonight and I will show you the carousel. And they're like, oh, sweet, gee, thanks, Mr. Dark. And then they go running off, and then they hear something. They go back and they look inside, and Mr. Dark's little henchman sits on the carousel. And Mr. Dark turns it around, and the carousel goes backwards, and the guy's getting younger and younger and younger. So he's about the same age as the two kids. Come to find out that a lot of the adults, pretty much all the people in the town, are kind of taken by this Mr. Dark and this carnival, probably more than they should be. And you find out that Mr. Dark's basically, giving the adults in town basically a fountain of youth. And the kids are like, there's something afoot here. And Jason Robards comes in. It's like, don't worry, kids. I'll be in Magnolia in a couple of years. I'll help you out. And then they join forces and try to attack Mr. Dark. This is like we've mentioned before. This is a spooky movie, but it's a pretty good one. Pamela Grier makes an appearance as this little witch, the witch thing. There's a bunch of great lines in here. I cannot remember because I got bad brains, but yeah, this is the worst thing about this movie is that the ending goes a little quick. So it does a great job setting everything up, and then when it gets to the climax, bam, climax is over. And then I kind of wish they would have extended the climax a little bit. But otherwise, this is a really fantastic movie.
I get that too.
But you do.
So
yeah, the kids, they got that kind of they're not quite as good as like the kids in Stand By Me, for example. They're a little one note, but Jason Robards is really good. Pamela Grier is creepy. Jonathan Pryce is probably one of the best on-screen villains that no one ever talks about. He's so good in this, but it's just completely underrated. And it's actually kind of sad that it took me forever to find this DVD, and most people listening can't watch it unless you blah blah blah. But yeah.
Unless you buy it on DVD or get it from Eric Holmes. Email Eric Holmes at hamslime@gmail.com to get it. No, wait. Make sure as you're listening to this, by the time you listen to this, Eric Holmes will post up something on Facebook, and then you have to comment below on whatever the question is. Just comment, talk. Yes.
There's a scene in this that I absolutely love. It's kind of not quite towards the end, but kind of getting there, where Mr. Dark, well, first of all, he's like well, when he first meets Jason Robards and he's looking for the kids, he's like, have you seen these children? And he's like, what's your name? It's like, my name's Mr. Dark and I'm looking for some children. As if it's like, hey, I'm looking for a 5-year-old. What's your name? My name is Evil Murder Pants.
That's so funny.
But there's a scene where Jason Robards is supposed to meet the kids in this library, and Mr. Dark, he knows the kids are nearby, but he didn't know where. And once Jason Robards to tell him, and he offers youth, wouldn't you like to be 30 years old again? Oh yes, you would. The blah 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 of youth. And he says it much better than I am. But he's got this book. He's like 30 off the table, and he throw it, like every time he pulls a page out, like lights up, and he just throws it on the ground. He's like 31. You could be 31. Not any longer. Where are the children? You could be 32 years old. 32. He's starting to blah blah blah. Not any longer. 33. 34. Where are the? And there's this whole scene where he's like doing that. I was like, oh, it's so good. It's so good. But yeah, there's some cheese in this, but it definitely holds up. And if you don't win the thing where I send you the movie, seek it out if you can. Hopefully, maybe one day they'll put it on Disney Plus, where it should be right now, but it's not, because fuck Disney, I guess.
Okay, after I was gonna actually put in like a little call Disney up saying maybe we should start getting links. I'm gonna
do that instead. Fuck Disney. Do that.
I'm just kidding. No, he means Disney Plus. Disney. He means that with affection. With affection.
He means make love to Disney.
Yes.
That's what he's trying to say. Affection.
That was his positive sexual
Disney affection. You won't put it on? Fuck you, 32.
Okay. So he was just talking about the movie. Something wicked this way comes again. Eric Holmes. He's doing this whole really cool DVD chain thing. Hit him up on this on our Find Your Film Facebook. And I'm going to interrupt Bruce Parkey before he gets to his own recommendation, because Something Wicked This Way comes. I know Bruce is going to say this. It's directed by Jack Clayton, and Bruce and I will ultimately force Eric Holmes one day to watch the 1961 movie The Innocents, directed by Jack Clayton, starring Deborah Carr, and it's so good, and it's written by this author named Henry James. The movie is based on the story The Turn of the Screw. Yes, The Innocents 1961 scares the living crap out of me just thinking about this movie. Yes, Eric Holmes, you got to find it. Go The Innocents, go to Just Watch. Please see it. Do a rewind on it. Not next week, maybe whenever you want, because that's a classic. So, Bruce, what is your recommendation?
Well, other than my box one, the only other thing I have is my rewind. You want me to rewind one real quick? I can do it really fast.
Oh, Quo Vadis, Aida.
Yeah,
Eric Holmes. Eric Holmes loved it.
I'll just do that really quick, and then I'll get to the box after you talk about yours. I did Quo Vadis Aida from 2020, rental. It's directed by Yasmila. Oh my God, Zbanek. I did it about as badly. Eric, you did it better than I did. This is an amazing movie. If you haven't seen it, I believe it's nominated for Best International Feature. I might be wrong about that. I think it might be. It takes place in Bosnia in 1995. Aida is played by Jasna Juricic. She's a translator. And Boris Isakovic plays General Ratko Mladic, which, if you know who he was a pretty evil dude. I think he may have been tried and convicted of war crimes for some of the things he did in Bosnia. This takes place in Srebrenica. It's a basic concept. And once again, I won't go through the whole thing, but Serbian army is flowing into Srebrenica. The town is running away to go to the UN compound and be safe. And the UN compound takes in a certain percentage of the town, drops the gates, said no one else is allowed in. And the rest of the town is basically standing outside of the gates. And in fact, Aida's husband and 2 sons are standing outside of the gates. And this movie is a pretty straightforward movie. It's going to tell you about what happened there. No secret, not anything good. It's pretty much this woman's efforts to save her family and maybe save more people. And it's just her doing every single thing she can possibly do while it's telling you the story of what happened there. It's very streamlined. It's very intense. And the last 20 minutes of this movie are fucking amazing. There's a scene, I'm not going to say what it is. There's a scene where she's just walking through a room that is really, really crushing. She's really great. Yasna, hopefully I'm saying her name right. She is very, very, very good in this movie. She's the linchpin, holds it together. It's also, like we were talking about earlier, in a lot of ways, this really ties into some of the live action shorts we were talking about, because there's a lot here about the UN, like bureaucracy and their weakness. And when they're faced with moments where they could or could not do something to save people, they're constantly like, oh, this is all we can do. We can't do anymore. This is all we can do. We can't do anymore. And it's just very frustrating and very maddening and really emotional and really good. And I'm sure Eric,
it's almost like I would say like a tragedy of incompetence as well. Yes. Because a lot of the tragedy that happens is, like you said, well, I can't do that. It's like, dude, people are gonna die. A lot of people are gonna die.
Well, the opening scene of this movie, the opening scene is them sitting there with the UN people and the person from the town saying, like, you said that they aren't going to go any further into our town, right? If they do, you're going to bomb them, right? Yes, we'll do that. You guarantee it? Well, I'm the messenger. Like, that's the opening scene. And you're like, oh shit, I see where this is going. This is not going anywhere good. Yeah. So it's a really good movie though.
Okay, so that's Quo Vadis, Aida. It's on demand digital. I believe it's digital, but at least on demand right now where you can watch it. And both Eric and Bruce really loved it. I have not yet. Maybe I'll do a rewind this week. Hopefully I still have the link to check out Quo Vadis, Aida. But again, Bruce, high recommend for you for this movie.
Yeah, high recommend. And this is not like a boring historical movie. It starts like right when the shit's going down, and it's just tense. The whole movie is tense. Yeah, okay. It's really good.
And I'm going to go very quick on my recommendation. This is a new movie, at least stateside. It's called Moffie, Moffie. It opens April 9th in select theaters, on digital and VOD.
The most important single factor in the South African army, the soldier. All our efforts are directed at equipping him physically and otherwise for the defense of our country.
Thank you all for being with us to send off my firstborn to do his military service.
Jeff, you'll be okay, son. Show them what you're made of.
Jy is nie meer iemand nie. Julle is rowe. En is ons werk om julle rowemans te probeer maak. Swart barbare is op ons voorstoep. Luigatgeit. Mofgatgeit. Kaffer simpatie. Sal nie geduld word nie.
Man, won't you hurry? 'Cause I'm tired of these scenes.
Sugar man met a false friend on a lonely, dusty road.
Do whatever you can to stay invisible.
I'm not like you.
Makes my questions disappear.
Now, Moffie, it's set in 1981, and it's in South Africa. South Africa's, I'm reading from the plot synopsis. South Africa's white minority government is in a conflict on the southern Angolan border. Now, in 1981, a lot of these young white teenagers from 16 on, they must serve at least 2 years in the military. And the main character here, Nicholas van der Swart, he is sent to train to become part of the army. He's only 16, and this movie, Moffie, looks at his 2 years of military service trying to serve his country within this apartheid regime. So it takes a really up close and personal look at his journey. Here's the thing regarding Nicholas. He's gay, and he's coming of age, okay? 16, coming of age with his sexuality, with his identity, but he's also in the army. And then Moffie, this movie is the language is in English and in Afrikaans. Moffie in Afrikaans is a slang for a homophobic slur. So this is what makes Moffie a very layered drama, where it's like if you want a military drama, you have it. If you want a coming of age movie, you have it. But coming of age with that extra level of swimming upstream with the main character being gay in 1981 in a military which calls people Moffie, and they punish people who are gay, punish people not just verbally but physically. So it's a very suffocating movie. It's a tough watch, a very tough watch. But again, like you were mentioning, Bruce, with Hunger Ward, sometimes movies aren't supposed to be easy watches, and this movie really puts you right in the thick of things of 1981, of this young, I want to say boy, but this young teen's life. And the main actor in here, he is very good. I believe his name is Kai Brummel. I have to look up his name, but it's a very promising debut from him. I believe this might be his first movie. I'll look him up on IMDb and correct myself later. But here's the thing. Go check out Moffie. Tell me what you think. It's a tough watch. The ending is very subtle. The directing is top notch. And I was thinking while I was watching this movie, I go, wow, this is a very personal movie. And I wonder what this writer-director, Oliver Hermanus is going to make next. He's a South African filmmaker. I just looked on his Twitter page. His next film after Moffie, which obviously he's completed, his next film is a remake or an adaptation of that Akira Kurosawa classic, Ikiru. So I don't know if either of you have seen Ikiru. Yeah, you've seen Ikiru, Bruce.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's
ballsy.
That is very ballsy. And it's actually going to be an adaptation of the Ikiru story by the screenwriter of The Remains of the Day. So it's going to be a very layered. Hopefully,
so what society is it going to take place in? Not Japan, probably.
I think it's going to be in London. I'm going to ask, you know what? I'm going to ask him tomorrow if I have the time, and I'll put all of that, listeners, I will put all of that information regarding my interview, and I'm going to ask him that Ikiru question. If you have not seen Ikiru, listeners, IKIRU, directed by Akira Kurosawa, I might be on Criterion Collection. Just go on justwatch.com. This is a life-changing movie, in my opinion. I really loved it. Very quickly, Bruce and Eric, do you high marks regarding Ikiru?
Yes.
Oh yeah, it's excellent.
Yeah. It's an excellent movie. Moffie is also, in my opinion, an excellent film. Well done film. Really excited to see what that director has in store next. Again, that is Moffie. Check it out. Moffie. Tell us what you think when you go check it out. We are closing our Find Your Film with some what's in the box stuff from Bruce Perky. I am hoping that The Caller is fantastic.
The Caller, 1987. You can find this on Tubi, so you can watch it tonight with some ads. Oh, you have something to say, Eric? You look like you're going to say something. So The Caller is a two-hander. It has two characters. The Caller, played by Malcolm McDowell.
I love it.
I got your attention.
Yeah.
And The Girl, played by Madeline Smith Osborne, who I don't know as much, but she has a few things I recognize her from. I think maybe Urban Cowboy, maybe, I don't know. Anyway,
hold on. Who was she in Urban Cowboy?
I feel like I saw her in there. I'm not sure.
Go on. I'll look it up right now.
Okay. So the movie starts out, this is a very, very odd movie. I'm surprised I've never heard of this movie. It starts out with her driving up to this cabin, kind of this cabin in the woods, but it's kind of a nicer cabin, but it's still isolated. She goes inside. She's, moving a hat box around. The hat box, it looks like it might be bleeding, or it has something dripping from it. She puts it in a bedroom. She's going around, getting dressed, undressed. The whole time you're seeing from outside, someone is watching her. So it's like classic, almost like a slasher setup, right? Someone's creeping up on her. And then and it's pretty much silent. No one's speaking. You're just seeing someone creeping on her the whole time. She's going from room to room. There's shots through the windows. And then after about 7 or 8 minutes, there's a knock at the door, a hard knock at the door. She opens the door. She's, I'm waiting for my boyfriend. She's looking around, and it's Malcolm McDowell, some guy she'd never seen before, showing up. It's like, oh, hey, my car broke down 6 miles away, and you're the only place I could find. Please let me inside. And then it becomes this weird cat and mouse where almost like those Sleuth or, I don't know, Death Trap. If you've ever seen Death Trap, these kind of games where these two characters are obviously playing off each other. they're sparring mentally. She keeps trying to catch him in a lie. And every time she does catch him in a lie, he goes, point to you. You got me there. I wasn't telling you the truth there. And it's just there's this very strange, heightened, like her acting style. I thought for most of the movie, like, wow, she's really overacting and playing this a very arch way. Was kind of bothering me. But there's kind of a reason to that. Anyway, they go through this whole first night. First night, taking count. And you think at one point they're maybe going to kill each other. You're wondering if maybe he's actually a cop and not a killer. Maybe he's undercover and trying to figure out what she's been doing, because she had this hat box after all. There's this very weird interaction between them. It's like you're not sure who's good, who's bad, or if either of them are bad, or if they're playing a game and they know each other from before.
This sounds fantastic. This sounds very, very good.
And it's not quite as stylish, but I swear to God, this is teetering close to De Palma territory.
Oh, my God.
You need to look into this movie. But, and then smash cut. It's the next day. She's out and almost gets run over by him driving this sports car, and they go on a drive together and a whole other thing. So basically 2 or 3 nights occur between them. I'm not going to say all the things that go down, but it's almost, when you talk about stagey or play-like movies, this is definitely in that category, right? This could easily have been a play. I haven't looked it up. It might have been a play at one point. But I will tell you, we talked earlier about twists, whether they work or didn't work and held. This twist, definitely, in the last 5 minutes of this movie, this twist will either totally destroy this movie for you and you will hate it, or you will go like, that was one of the most fucking bonkers things I've ever seen. That twist was ridiculously cool.
And Bruce, what is your judgment?
I really like the twist. It was.
Will me and Eric like it? Will me and Eric like the twist? Will one of us hate it? What do you think?
I predict one of you would like this movie a lot. Maybe both of you.
Ooh, okay. If let's say you had the money riding, what's it? You got the money on you. What do you say? Both of us love the twist.
I think both of you like this movie. I think both of you like this movie. I think it's weird enough, and I swear, like,
what a great call.
Teetering on the edge. I really was teetering on the edge through like most of this movie. Most of the movie, I was like, "What is this movie? This movie is either the worst thing or one of the best things I've ever seen." I don't know if I even like this movie. It's really weird.
Wait, who gave this to you? Who gave this to you? Again?
Oh, this is Joseph Bridges.
Oh, Joseph Bridges. Good. Joseph Bridges, always good. Always good taste. Joseph Bridges, very, very good. He has very interesting taste in cinema, and he's a huge cinephile. Knows more about movies than I do, actually. So,
and this is definitely in B movie territory, right? This is not art house movie,
dude,
but
I love B movies.
Yeah, but it's like how like De Palma is. He does a B movie, but he does it in a really odd way that makes it elevated and strange. And if you get the vibe, you like it. This is one of those kind of movies. If you start getting into the vibe of it, you'll probably love it. If you don't, you probably won't. But
this is how much I love B. Yeah, this is how This is how much I love B movies. Eric Holmes, answer the question. I love B movies so much that my favorite Johnny Depp movie ever by a mile is what?
Crybaby.
Is what, Bruce Perky? I love B movies so much that my favorite Johnny Depp. Which one?
Ed Wood.
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
My favorite Johnny Depp movie, and I'm not kidding, no joke. You should have gotten it, Bruce. I'm disappointed in you. You just mentioned Brian De Palma. Directed by David Koepp, the most underrated Johnny Depp movie ever. And my favorite Johnny Depp movie is Secret Window.
Yeah.
Secret Window.
Oh,
as soon as you said David Koepp, I'm like, damn it.
Yes.
And Secret Window's pretty good. Yeah, this is one of those high concept weirdo.
I'm so
weirdo, like almost a play. And I
I'm so into this twist. Oh, no, don't tell me. Don't do that.
I won't. Don't tell me. It's so fucking weird. It's so fucking weird.
I want to say one more thing. Eric Holmes.
Real quick, I just wanted to mention the Madeline Osborne. She was Pam in Urban Cowboy, the one that Bud goes to when he leaves Sissy. So, any Urban Cowboy fans? That's who we're talking about.
Are you an Urban Cowboy fan?
Huge.
Huge. Okay, huge Urban Cowboy fan.
It looks like he's wearing his mama's hairnet.
I will say this. I have not seen Urban Cowboy, but I did see Madeline Smith Osborne when I was 17 in this Chevy Chase movie called Funny Farm. And she was, I guess, his wife, I believe, in Funny Farm. And I remember watching that movie, having a huge crush on Madeline Smith Osborne. And I thought to myself, man, can't wait to see more movies from her. And if you look at at her IMDb. I don't know what happened. Maybe she raised. I haven't looked at her bio, but she hasn't done a lot of movies in her career. I thought she was a really wonderful actress throughout the 80s. Eric Holmes, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to apologize all the way back to when I hit you the first time, but
which
yeah. I'm sorry, I can't get off Urban Cowboy movie.
Urban Cowboy. Okay, I definitely got to see Urban Cowboy. Hey, Bruce, did you ever see Urban Cowboy?
Oh, way when it came out. I was pretty young. I don't remember much about it other than the obvious stuff. But yeah, I've seen it.
Is Urban Cowboy better than Secret Window, Eric Holmes? Come on, quick. Better?
I mean, they're completely different movies. That's like, which you like better, Evil Dead or Up?
Well, you know what? I don't think in Urban Cowboy they don't eat corn, so obviously Secret Window is better, right?
They eat corn. Actually, they eat a lot of McDonald's. That's another.
Hey, maybe it might be better.
I pull so many quotes from my day-to-day life on Urban Cowboy, and like a lot of it, I forget that I came from Urban Cowboy.
Oh, I gotta see this immediately. I've got to see.
Like, God damn it, McDonald's again!
Very cool. Very cool. By the way, McDonald's is not sponsoring us anymore, so I wish they did sponsor us. Speaking of which, Bruce Perky, you're what's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the bleeping box?
What's in the box? What's in the fucking box?
Oh no, I don't know. Yeah, the collar is weird. I'm surprised it's not more of a cult following because it's
okay.
It's
well, we're gonna make the collar a cult following kind of movie. How about that?
Okay. Well, we have definitely gone from one extreme to the other because Mr. William Lindis from the Movie Bears podcast, a fine friend there.
Yes, Movie Bears podcast
suggested The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kantz by Rainier Fassbinder.
Oh my goodness. Okay. And that's interesting. All right. So, and yes, Eric Holmes, a little bit of, he's shown off those cool cards, those entertainment cool cards, and those winners. Yes,
I believe we randomized some winners at the beginning of the show before recording.
Yes,
and we're going to name the winners right now.
Oh, I thought did we not name the winners? Did we name the winners at the beginning?
No, we did that. We pulled the name of the winners before we recorded, but we never announced them yet.
Oh, you know what? Eric Holmes and Bruce Perky, as usual, doing my bleeping job for me as I continue to screw up. This week I screwed up on the Held interviews. What will Greg Sruzvasti do now to tank Find Your Film? Tune in next week. But anyways, thank you, Eric Holmes, for that. The winners for Eric Holmes' entertainment gift card giveaway. Apologies to Eric Holmes and, of course, the Entertain Mart and everyone in Colorado Springs. The winners are Jamie Bollinger and Angie Clark. So email Eric Holmes at hamslime@gmail.com to yes, clap.
These will be coming to you. And then if you would like to come to us on the show, you may, but you don't have to if you don't want to. Yes. And actually, I have to hit up Chad Wilfong because he's, I haven't heard, I don't know if he got his movies yet, but maybe, because he was the other winner of the last one. So maybe he wants to come on. I'll hit him up and see what's up with that. Or maybe he doesn't want to, and that's fine too. Yeah. But congratulations.
Chad Wilfong, Jamie Bollinger, Angie Clark. If any of you want to get on the show, talk about your entertainment gift card purchases, hit us up and talk about the movie. We'll review the movie, all that good jazz. All that jazz. Speaking of which, all that jazz. Great movie or not, Bruce? Have you seen it? You love it? All that jazz? Yes, great movie. Eric Holmes, all that jazz? Yes?
I don't know if I've even seen it. I probably saw it with my grandma back in the day, but I do not remember it.
I know.
Roy Scheider is fucking amazing in that movie.
So amazing in all that jazz. We're going to close with that. Actually, Eric, we're going to close with you. You want to say something really sublime and deep regarding this very lengthy and meaty Find Your Film episode?
Look, if you're, I don't know how many police officers are listening to this show. And if you did, maybe you stopped listening early on in the episode. But if you stuck with us, maybe you stuck with us because you're not offended because you don't kill people. And that's fine. Maybe tell your coworkers to ease up on the trigger finger. And for those of you who are cops, try to be helpful. And let's try to be helpful and not try to hurt people. That's what I got. That's what I got from watching these shorts. And hopefully other people that watch these shorts, the ones that we covered, maybe they can learn something else as positive.
Yeah,
Love
very
your
good.
friends. Don't kill them.
Very good message, Eric Holmes, to close the show. Bruce, anything else you got to think? Yeah,
I would just like to forward promote that we are going to be doing a special Dogma 95 episode soon.
Yes, Eric Holmes, you want to tell what we're going to be recording this weekend regarding Dogma 95 and the celebration and Thomas Vinterberg? Can you say that without the lighting in the background, because you've already broken one of the important rules of Dogma?
Hold on. Let me turn
Oh
these
my
lights
god, how
off.
dare you?
Where's
How
the-
dare you with
Yeah, we'll
that
just
extra flash on this?
Shut that off right there. And I don't know where the other thing is.
I was just
Yeah, here we go. Hold on.
okay. We got to be unadorned. Unadorned. You know what? I should probably turn off my lights too.
All right, so
what? I lost my camera's gone.
Oh, my camera's gone. Oh, my camera's gone.
I can only promote this with natural light and only diegetic music, but we will be talking about the celebration, directed by, can't name it, but it's directed by a person, and we will talk about that as well as a couple other Dogma 95 movies. Completely without notes, all from our head, and we cannot use CGI. And we will be recording the next podcast on 35 millimeter prints, Academy ratio, and yeah, check it out. It's gonna be good. Oh yeah, and the whole thing's gonna be handheld.
And Bruce is hand holding the camera just because it's Dogma 95. I am not as creative as my betters, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. Dogma 95 this weekend. Take care, guys. Thank you guys so much for listening to Find Your Film, and check us out as we're gonna be doing some more celebrating this weekend with Dogma 95. Take care. Bye bye.